They say people show you who they truly are when life falls apart. And if that's true, then I saw him, really saw him, for the first time, the day my world crumbled. Started with a phone call. You know, the kind that changes everything before you even say hello. My phone lit up with my aunt's name. Her voice was trembling. And in that one sentence, just a few words, she took my whole world apart. "Sweetheart, your mom's gone." I swear I felt the floor disappear under me. Like my body was here, but my soul was somewhere far away, screaming into a void. I didn't even cry at first. I just sat there on the edge of my bed, phone still in my hand, watching the city lights blur through the window like a painting melting. And I remember texting him. "Something happened. I need you." I stared at those 3 dots for a full minute, waiting for them to form into words. Then they disappeared. I waited another minute, then another, and still nothing. Hours passed before he finally replied. Just 2 words. "I'm sorry." That was it. Not, "I'm coming." Not, "I'm here." Just, "I'm sorry." At the time, I told myself he was in shock, that maybe he didn't know what to say. But deep down I felt something crack inside me. Because when you love someone, when they are your safe place, you don't need perfect words. You just show up. The funeral was quiet, small. My mother didn't have much family left. It was mostly me, my aunt, and a few of her co-workers. I kept glancing at the door, half expecting him to walk in, to pull me into his arms and just be there. But the door stayed closed. He sent flowers, white lilies, with a card that said, "Thinking of you." You know, I never realized how painful those words could feel until then. Because what I needed wasn't someone thinking of me. I needed someone with me. A week after the funeral, I went back to work. HR isn't exactly the most forgiving department when it comes to emotional distance. You're supposed to be composed, objective, professional. But grief doesn't follow office hours. I was sitting in a meeting when my boss pulled me aside afterward. She said, "You've been distracted lately. We need your full focus back." And I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her that my full focus was buried 6 feet underground with my mother. But I didn't. I just nodded. The next day, I got an email with the subject line, "Let's talk." You know what that means? It's corporate code for, "We're letting you go." That was 2 losses in 2 weeks. My mother and my career both gone. That night I called him again. My voice shaking, tears spilling before I could even speak. He answered, but his tone was distant, like I was an obligation. "Hey," I said softly. "I lost my job today." There was a long silence. Then he sighed. "I'm really sorry, babe. You'll find something else soon." Something in me broke right there. Because I didn't need someone to fix it. I just needed someone to feel it with me. After that call, he started pulling away more and more. The texts became shorter, the calls less frequent. He always had an excuse. Busy with work, family stuff, tired. I tried to be understanding. I told myself he just needed space. But the truth was, I was losing him too. The day I realized he was gone wasn't dramatic. There was no fight, no yelling, no tears. It was a Tuesday night. I texted him like always. "Hey, how was your day?" He didn't reply. Waited. Checked my phone again. By midnight, I put my phone face down and whispered to myself, "He's not coming back." It's crazy how silence can be louder than any breakup speech. I take 1,000 harsh words over the emptiness of being ignored by the person you love. For days, I replayed everything in my head. Every dinner, every inside joke, every promise. And that one line he said once, back when we were happy, "I'll always be here for you." Kept wondering what changed. Was it me? Was I too broken? Too emotional? Did my grief make me less lovable? There's a certain kind of pain that doesn't just hurt. It humiliates you. Because you start blaming yourself for being human. Weeks went by. I barely left my apartment. My friends stopped calling after a while. I became invisible in a city that never stops moving. One night, I walked down to the deli across the street in my pajamas just to feel the cold air on my face. And as I stood there, waiting for my coffee, I saw a couple laughing together on the sidewalk. She was holding his arm. He was brushing the hair out of her face. And I felt this ache in my chest that words can't really describe. Not because I wanted him back, but because I missed being loved. I missed belonging to someone. When I got home that night, I sat by the window, looking out at the city lights again. And for the first time, I said it out loud. He's not coming back. And somehow, saying it made it real. Painfully real. But it also made me realize something else. I was still here. I started writing again. Just little things at first. Notes in my phone, half-finished paragraphs. They weren't poems or letters. They were more like pieces of me I was trying to glue back together. One night, I wrote something that stuck with me. Maybe he couldn't handle my storm because he was never meant to stay through it. That line became my lifeline. Because when I looked back, I realized he wasn't evil. He didn't hurt me on purpose. He just didn't know how to love someone who was breaking. He didn't know how to stay when things got hard. And for a long time, I resented him for that. Until I understood, that's who he was. And maybe that's who he'll always be. But me, I didn't want to be defined by who left. I wanted to be remembered for how I got back up. That realization didn't come in one big moment. Came slowly. In mornings when I forced myself out of bed. In evenings when I went for walks just to breathe again. In small victories. Cooking for myself, applying for new jobs, smiling at strangers. Healing, I learned, isn't cinematic. It's messy. It's boring. It's crying over a song you used to love and then one day realizing it doesn't hurt anymore. I stopped checking my phone for his name. I stopped imagining his apology. And somewhere between the heartbreak and the quiet nights, I found myself again. Or maybe I met a new version of me. One who doesn't wait for someone to show up. One who shows up for herself. It's strange how quiet life becomes after heartbreak. The noise of love fades, and what's left is your own breathing. For weeks, that silence felt unbearable, like every second was a reminder that I'd been left behind. But slowly, it started feeling like peace. I didn't notice it at first. It wasn't some big, dramatic turning point. No sunrise epiphany, no cinematic song playing in the background. It was just one ordinary morning when I woke up and realized I hadn't thought about him in days. I got out of bed, made coffee, and for the first time in months, the air didn't feel heavy. The city noise outside, the honking, the sirens, the endless rhythm of New York, it didn't sound cruel anymore. It sounded alive. That morning, I looked at myself in the mirror, hair messy, eyes still tired, and I said softly, "You made it through." It was just 3 words, but they felt powerful. Healing didn't make me forget him, just made me understand him. He wasn't the villain in my story. He was the lesson, a reminder that love isn't proven by words or promises or forever. It's proven in presence. And when he couldn't give me that, it wasn't because I wasn't enough. It was because he wasn't ready to love someone who needed more than surface-level comfort. For a while I kept wondering if he ever missed me. If he ever regretted walking away when I needed him the most. But the more I healed, the less that question mattered. Because when you truly start loving yourself again, the need for closure fades. You become your own closure. One afternoon, months later, I walked past the cafe where we used to meet. It was one of those early spring days when the air finally starts to lose its winter bite. The same barista was there, same smell of espresso and vanilla in the air. I hesitated for a second. Part of me wanted to keep walking, but I went in. I ordered my usual oat milk latte extra hot and sat at our old table. The seat across from me was empty, and yet it didn't hurt anymore. Just felt like a memory. I took out my notebook, the one I'd started journaling in after everything fell apart, and began to write. I didn't know what the words would be, but they came easily. Maybe love isn't about who stays. Maybe it's about who you become after they leave. And I smiled, because for the first time I wasn't writing about him. I was writing about me. I found a new job a few weeks later, a small HR consulting firm run by women. It wasn't glamorous, but it was peaceful. The kind of place where people actually ask how you're doing and mean it. My boss was a kind woman named Julia. On my first day, she said, "We all carry something heavy here. The trick is learning to set it down sometimes." That sentence stayed with me. And over time I did set it down piece by piece. The guilt, the anger, the endless what. I traded them for gratitude. Gratitude that I had survived. There were still moments of loneliness, of course. Nights when the city lights felt too bright, too distant. But loneliness, I realized, isn't the same as emptiness. It's just space waiting to be filled, with new memories, new purpose, new peace. I started volunteering at a local shelter on weekends, helping women find jobs, rebuild their confidence, start over. Every story I heard reminded me that pain doesn't mean weakness, means you loved deeply enough to be changed. One woman around my age once told me, "My ex left right after my dad died. I thought I'd never recover." And I looked at her, smiled softly and said, "You will. One day you'll wake up and it won't hurt like it used to." When she smiled back through tears, I realized I wasn't just healing. I was helping others heal too. It's been a year now, full year since he left. Sometimes I still think of him, not with pain, not with longing, just with quiet understanding. He wasn't meant to be my forever. He was meant to be my awakening. And I've stopped waiting for closure that never came, because silence can be an answer. Sometimes the universe removes people quietly. No explanations, no apologies, just distance. And that's how it tells you they've served their part in your story. The last time I saw him was by accident. I was at a bookstore downtown, my arms full of self-help books and a coffee that was already going cold. And there he was, looking almost the same, maybe a little older, maybe a little sadder. He saw me too. We exchanged a polite smile. No words, no small talk, no "how have you been?" Just a moment of recognition. And then he walked past me, and I let him. Because this time I didn't need to chase closure. I was already living it. Later that night, I sat on my fire escape, watching the city glow beneath me. And I thought about everything that had changed, everything I'd survived. The girl who once waited for his texts was gone. The woman sitting there now didn't need validation from someone else to feel worthy. I whispered to myself, "You did it. You made it through every night you thought you wouldn't." And then, with a deep breath, I let it all go. Not with anger, not with pain, but as peace. Because healing isn't about forgetting. It's about remembering without breaking.